Hello, welcome to this video of how to get out of analysis paralysis and out of your head completely and start living life in the now, being more fluid, open to new, and in the recognition that the reason you can't do that a lot of times is because you get triggered by things and then you get into this analysis paralysis. And then it kind of creates an all in, all out scenario, and then you can look kind of wishy-washy because you're all in and then you're all out. It's all stemming from the same thing. So let's get to it. Okay, so the number one thing, or the list of number one things that keep us from living our best life, is analysis paralysis, emotional triggers, depression, and maybe addiction a little bit. And they all kind of stem from the same thing. We are seeking externally to feel better. And so we all know that, the kingdom is within, as Jesus says it, and, the mind can be a great asset or you can be a slave to your mind. Those are kind of like concepts in spirituality. And it's a big truth. But what we want to do is we want to take the spiritual fast lane to understanding how we can start to get out of this, triggers, analysis paralysis, or seeking outside of ourselves to feel better. And that's pretty much where we are on the planet. And that's why everybody's getting heavily triggered and everything's so intense, because the universe is really forcing us to release this stuff, let it go, and get in onto our evolution. And we cannot evolve. Let's make the example. What I just said, you're not living your best life because of these things. Well, if you're consistently in a analysis of what to do next or what should I do, it's because you're not comfortable with expanding. You stay in a shitty job, you analyze, oh, I'm going to go, oh, I'm going to stay, oh, this person was okay today, I'm going to stay, oh, they're a jerk, I'm going to apply for a new job, and this is just a loop in your mind, duality. And what it does is it paralyzes you to never do anything, because when people at your work are treating you good, you're like, fuck it, I can do this. And when they're treating you bad, you're like, I'm gonna quit. And then you just keep going back and forth and then getting in your head even more, because the momentum of analyzing it gets real strong. Same thing with money, same thing with love, same thing with everything. If we're externally dictating what we should do next, what our next move is from the analysis of what's happening out here, nothing, everybody out here is shifty as hell. They're just shifty. And then we're determining what we should do based on what they're doing. Like, we're all shifty then. Wow, then we're shifty, right? And so the point here is to understand that why the hell am I so wishy-washy in analyzing the back and forth as a determinant to my next move? And think about that, my next move. It's stopping me from my next move, because one day they're good, and next day they're bad. And so, and this is especially true in relationships, all right? And so, I mean, this is true in everything. You can think about if you signed a lease for a house that's more than you can afford, and then you're struggling towards the end of the lease, and you're like, oh man, I struggle every month to pay my rent. I'm going to put in notice, I'm going to leave. And then you pay your rent, and you're like, okay, I'm good. And you do nothing to change it. So you're not expanding into new situations. You're not seeing what else is out there. You're not moving past your current reality, your current parameters, because of all of this. So it's super important. And the way we're looking at it through this video with analysis paralysis is because then we can really understand, oh, I keep analyzing back and forth what I should do, value in this. And this is important, because the reason we seek externally is because we don't feel valuable or valued or seen in this specific area. And if we could just not care so much and give it to ourselves, then external wouldn't matter. They could act good one day and bad the next day, and we would still stay the course, because we valued ourselves so much that we didn't want to deal with the highs and lows. You see, so when we go with the example of love, we always tend to go to, when we're triggered, the worst, and I hate this person, and I'm never going to talk to him again, and this and that and the other thing, and we're analyzing all the bad things he ever did. And then when he comes back and says the things that you need to hear, then you're like, you know what, I'll give him another shot. It's that. You're not doing that because your mind helped you analyze the best solution. It's So there's a key right there. The analysis paralysis is really just our way of staying stuck. So the way I'm going to teach it is find what is the value I'm getting from this man. And that value is at least 50% of the time he makes me feel valued and seen and loved. And so you're willing to deal with that other 50% of the time where he's a complete jerk because you need that. And so that is putting the value that you have. You value feeling loved externally. Okay, key. Because you just got to find the value. And so with money, maybe you were born into poverty, and so you worked extra hard to get out of poverty because you were like, nobody's going to look at me like that again. Nobody's going to treat me that way. I'm not going to stay stuck like that. And so then you get in this thing where money is the most important thing. It makes you feel valued, right? But then what happens if you lose your job? Or what happens if your boss starts to mistreat you and you deal with it because your value is totally entwined with this job and this money and this career? There's nothing more important than feeling good and being at joy, peace, and love. Nothing. I'm a metaphysician. Everything that you're seeking out there, that value that you've placed outside of yourself, is only so you feel good. Period. And if you to yourself, I'm willing to deal with this because I need money, that's because you placed value in how you look. I'm not homeless. I have a nice house. I'm this, I'm that. I have a nice car. I'm responsible. I pay my bills. That's just a band-aid for you don't feel valuable. So you have placed your value outside yourself. That's the reason you're upset about trying to leave your job or take a pay cut or any of that, just to be at peace, because your identity, your I am, is wrapped into that false persona you've created with the guy. Or, look at me, I got a sexy ass man on my arm, or I married him, or I have this financial abundance through my career, or I got the degrees in this thing I absolutely hate now, but I'm going to stick to it because now I am that. It is all just because you placed your value out there and you can't find it in yourself. And the way you start is just identify what is that. So let's just say it's money. You got to start telling yourself and get out of this analysis paralysis. Find the value that you're placing outside yourself and say, how can I bring this back into myself? And you do it by having opposing beliefs, because you created this scenario with limiting beliefs. I'm not anything because I'm poor and everybody looks at me crazy, and so now I'm going to get rich. It's a limiting belief. It's fake, because now you're chasing money, trying to fix this, right? And it's not going to get fixed. It's just not. Because you're just going to keep on this hamster wheel and this analysis paralysis, how to stay in it, because you're so hurting inside. Because you've put this band-aid thing and you've lost your sense of self. Okay, so now that you got your value, that it's money. I've placed money as my value. Now you had to have a new, it's going to be a limiting belief, but we're using our mind as a tool now to oppose the belief. A polar opposite belief. And that belief, when it relates to money, is I am going to drive a car that's a late model. I am going to not care so much about the labels that I wear or where I buy my clothes. I'm going to stop putting such a great importance on money. When you start to tell people that it's like the best way, Jesus says, teaching is learning. So teaching is impressing the unconscious mind with the new belief really fast. That's why those aha moments consciously, they never stick, but when you're re-impressing your unconscious, and so teaching is learning. So you just start telling people, oh, I love that you got that stuff. It happened for me when I was starting my awakening, because the neighbor got a new car and mine was like about to be 2-3 years old, and I was like furious. I was keeping up with the Joneses for real, because remember, I came from poverty, and I sat with that like, I don't care, I'll drive this car till the wheels fall off. I'm not putting myself in more debt. I let her drive around in her happy little car. And eventually I got my dream car because it was my time. But it was because also I didn't place my value in what kind of car I drove or the clothes or this and that. So you just go with an opposing thing to start unraveling that, scaling it back. My value doesn't reside in what kind of car I drive or what kind of man I have or what relationship or if I look stupid because he left me or any of that. You start reeling it back with an opposing belief. And then you realize that that's not what you've been doing. You've been analyzing how to stay in this or run. It's not about that. It's just about redefining the limited belief that you aren't valuable and you've placed that value externally. This is a really hard concept. Well, it's real easy to hear, but it's a real hard concept to apply because it takes time. There is no instant in this. And we are in this culture of instant. And if it doesn't work instantly, it's not worth it. Well, this is definitely worth it. And this is the way. And the beauty of this is as you start doing it, your mind starts to ease and then you're clear. Your conscious is clear. That's why you're so magnetic, as Ariana Grande said. And so you really have to just really start to do that internal work and understand why you've placed this importance in your life and stop giving it that power, in a nutshell. So I hope this video helps, and I hope that you understand that the heart is triggered and the mind plays out what the heart wants to heal, and now you have to just go within and say, screw that, I don't care. Let it all go. And get yourself back on the right track with a new I am presence and feeling valuable within yourself. No external needed. All right, so hope that makes sense. Like, share, subscribe, and until next time, take care.